companies worth billions to run their paid ads, and it would be worth a fortune. I probably could buy a house off this one client alone. It's one of those things as well. It's learning to say no. It's not where we want to be anymore. It's not where we're aligned. And so it is good to get those things. And if they are the things that you're working towards, and that's brilliant, but it's, you're not, unless you're very, very, very smart, and you can learn from other people's mistakes before you make them, you're going to make mistakes, but it's okay, because that's how we learn. And that is how we move forward. It's just so much more important that we get up and carry on.
Hello and welcome to the Who's Going to Stop Me podcast. Join us on an exciting journey to the depths of the human mind and soul of those who have been successful, of those who have been maybe where you want to go. I promise you one thing and one thing only by listening to this podcast, and that is a life that is more full, that is more exciting, and that will bring you more fulfillment. This episode features Daniel Daines-Hutt. He is a self-confessed marketing nerd who is a true expert and thought leader when it comes to content marketing. He's made some of the top content on inbound.org and GrowthHackers. He has one article that generates $22 on Facebook for every $1 spent. Him and his wife Freya run AmpMyContent. They teach you less is actually more when it comes to sharing content to build your personal brand or your business brand. If you are an entrepreneur who's looking to make a dent in the world with your content, this is a must-listen episode. We dig into human psychology, the psychology of persuasion, writing great articles, what exactly needs to be featured in the content to make people click. We talk about Daniel's personal journey from success to failure back to success, and why having over $3 million in client requests was actually one of his biggest failures. As always, we go deep, we go into the person behind the business, and we really get into the nitty-gritty. So, grab a coffee, grab a water, and enjoy.
Not at all. Thank you for having me. It's an honor. I've seen your previous guests as well. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we have like a crazy diverse set of guests, but I think the one thing that differentiates them is they're all really passionate about what they're doing, and because of that passion and I guess creativity and intelligence, they're all doing very well in what they're doing, whether they're athletes or entrepreneurs or authors. So yeah, I'm really glad that you're joining that list of guests today.
Well, I'm honored. Thank you, sir.
Why don't we start with, just on quite a high level, because I appreciate some of the guests won't be some of the listeners won't be entrepreneurs. Some of them might just be, they might work in marketing for a bigger company, or they might be doing something completely different. They might just have aspirations to start a business. Would you say that AmpMyContent is a content marketing based business? And if you could just give like a high level explanation of like what content marketing is for maybe someone who doesn't have that much experience in internet marketing and digital marketing.
Yeah, totally. So I suppose we are a content marketing company, and it's where we're based, but we are kind of a subset of that. So, kind of like a mile-high overview of content marketing. You create written or video content assets for your website that can attract a customer. Maybe they're searching for certain things and you have content on that. That content can also convert people. It can replicate those conversations that you might have face-to-face, which I think a lot of content marketers miss. They think it's just for traffic, but it's also for conversion. So it can attract people, it can help convert them, it can automate those sales. AmpMyContent is a little bit different in that almost everyone focuses on creating more content, on just creating a high volume. And it's a lot of effort to do that, and not everyone has the time. And the irony is you can actually get better results and more traffic if you spend your time making less and focus on actually promoting it and putting it out there. Almost, let's say for an example, you are a film director and you make a film. It makes no sense for you to go and go make the second film and a third film immediately and never push it out to the public. You have to do those kind of press tours and leverage that asset that you've got. So that's what we do basically with just kind of the written word.
And would you say, obviously there's a balance there, right? Because anyone that has a business, you need to put out a certain amount of content. So how do you strike that balance when, you know, because I know that you've got products and courses and you give advice to people. How would you strike that balance between saying, okay, your business doesn't have enough content, you need to create more, versus you've got plenty, now is the time to promote it?
Honestly, when I speak to most people who are doing content marketing, we usually see two camps of people. We usually see people who get a lot of traffic and can't sell, or we see people who can sell but can't seem to get traffic. And it kind of ties into their background. The people who are more sales-based, perhaps, they understand there's always different content assets out there that most people miss. Certain content, like I said, most people focus on getting traffic and nothing else with their articles. But if you don't have case studies, if you don't have hero studies, if you don't have white papers, then you can't make sales, you can't build trust, you can't get backlinks, things like this. And so usually it's kind of looking at what people have and what they're missing, because obviously those are the biggest things that are going to make the biggest difference if you implement and add those. And then almost always, if push comes to shove, you are almost always better off promoting a post than you are writing something new. For example, we have an article right now. This is a huge article about paid content promotion, how to actually run paid traffic to a blog post and make a profit from it. That one article has over, I think, 600 backlinks. It's got 75 different websites linking to it. It drives thousands and thousands of dollars of traffic all on its own. And yet we're still better off promoting that than we are running anything new right now, because every time we promote it now, it ranks for more keywords, it gets more traffic, it gets more sales. So it's difficult. You kind of have to look and say, okay, well, where are we struggling? Are we not making enough sales and we need this asset? If we're not getting enough traffic, we need this asset. If we're not getting Google traffic, then we need these assets. And then it's just implementing, adding those, and then just kind of diving deep on the actual promotion side. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. So with that, say you got that 600 back, because that's an incredible amount of backlinks to one article, right? And people go around like pitching guest posts and like trying to get like link by link. That's a strategy I've heard before. So would you say that the majority of those backlinks have come from just you running this paid advertising, people seeing that content and going, you know what, this is so good, I'm going to share this on my own site?
I'll tell you a sneaky trick. So some of it has. So we run an advert just to influencers who write content in our industry. So they see the article. The idea being it puts it in front of people. Super basic. SEO is basically writing about something, letting Google understand what it is, and then you need links to it. But the thing is, your customers are not the people who can link to it. It's people with websites. So we target those people who have got websites who are known to write about our industry with specific adverts. And it's just one advert that runs to them about a particular article. And then we have other adverts that go to our customers to get them to convert. So that is one method that we're building links. We're also just kind of taking it on a press tour. We've done maybe 45 podcasts actually now at recording. Just talking about different areas of that article, deep diving into paid ads and things like that, or psychology or sales psychology. Different elements are kind of going on a tour, exactly like a film would, where you're going around and you're trying to, you go on Oprah, and then you tell Oprah and her audience how her particular audience would enjoy it, and you tell them a segment. And then on a different interview, it's the same film that you're promoting, but you're coming at it from a different angle. I don't know if you ever saw the original Deadpool film.
I did, yeah. I did.
It won awards for its marketing. It got absolutely huge numbers with a very small budget because it did all these crazy things like pushing it out there. At one point, it was running adverts pretending it was like a romance film for because Valentine's Day was coming up. And so all it would show was like clips of the actual kind of couples in the film. But in reality, when they get there, it's a totally different thing. That's just one subsect of it. So we follow like a strict promotion process whenever we write anything. What we do to build links. For example, right now we're building resource page links, which are ridiculously easy. People in different industries have, here's the top 100 blog posts about paid ads. All you really need to do is find those people and reach out to them. So there's always different methods that you can follow. It's just, we take it probably a bit deeper and a bit more effectively than most people would.
This is something that is extremely powerful and often overlooked. I mean, I run different businesses in different niches, and I did an interview on a podcast recently, and one of the guests asked me, like, how do you come up with new ideas for content? And it's just so interesting and like so potent to think about, instead of just creating more content and just, that metaphor and analogy you use with the film director who's just churning out movies, do a press tour for the movie that you've just finished. So I really love that. When I was reading your website and your blogs, and I was like, this makes so much sense.
Right? Everyone who comes to us says that eventually. Like, I used to think it was this, and now I read that, and it's totally changed my point of view. And I'm not opposed to like a large volume of content. It's just, I come from like a working class background. I know a lot of small business owners and things like that, and they get a lot of information and advice. But a lot of the advice is designed for like huge companies with massive teams and things like that. So it's not a problem of having a lot of content. The issue is not leveraging it. And so you are better off almost always, small team or a large team, to focus on promoting that content. And that can be guest posts, and it can be podcasts and interviews and all these different things. But it is just trying to leverage what you've got first. It makes no sense to make this coffee table book and then just never put it out in the world,
You mentioned a little bit about, you came from a working class background. I'd love to hear more about your story, because I know that you've traveled a lot. You recently got your residency in New Zealand. You're originally from England, like myself. So I'm eager to, and also like the skill set that is required for AmpMyContent, and like kind of teaching people about this idea of promotion requires you to be a good copywriter, requires you to understand advertising platforms. It just requires a lot of digital marketing skills. So I'm eager to hear your, I guess, journey from the start right to where you are now.
It's kind of a crazy tale. So yeah, I am from England originally, from a place called Shropshire in the West Midlands, little town called Ironbridge. It's where they first made iron, and there's not much else going on.
Sorry to interrupt. Sounds like a Game of Thrones type place, yeah.
Right, it is. And it looks just like Hobbiton, basically, like where the hobbits are from. Just green hills, nothing else. Basically, I'm in New Zealand with my partner Freya, and it got to a point where I was too old to apply for any more visas, and we were kind of looking for loopholes and things like that of how to stay. And I saw an entrepreneurship visa would let us stay in the country as long as I made X amount of sales. And so we just dived into it. Like, I don't think I'd really even read any books on the topic or anything like that. I designed a t-shirt. I literally I saw this thing that I could get an entrepreneurship visa. Then I went onto YouTube and I looked for Photoshop lessons, designed a t-shirt and put it on Facebook, and woke up to a few sales. And then I was like, okay, well, now I've got to figure out how to get them printed. So we lost money immediately. But it kind of like, it opened the door, and it just blew my mind that we'd created something and made more money. Technically, we would have made more money back if I was smarter with it, if I'd figured out printing and stuff in advance. But then it just took off. We were in, I think we were in 5 different retail stores within a couple of months. And we did that by being sneaky with advertising as well. I don't know how I kind of came up with all this stuff, but what I would do is, if you're a small clothing company, you don't really have any leverage. You know, there's no buyers or anything like that. The shopkeepers don't care. So I would target people. I would target potential customers who lived near the shops I wanted to be at, show them my product, and then get them to go ask for it at the shop. And so suddenly, like, these surf shops would have like 50 people go in over a weekend asking for our brand. And then they would contact us and ask if they could stock us, rather than us going to them with a, you know, like a hat in a hand trying to like get a deal. So we did that, and that went ridiculously well. Managed to quit my job, started doing kind of SEO and things like that, because I was thinking, okay, well, how do I sell these t-shirts online? And we started doing content writing and video production and stuff. Kind of went on that path, and just, it's amazing what you can do when you suddenly have to make it work, and you have a bit of time on your hands. So I learned so much about so many different systems, about SEO, AdWords, paid ads, content writing, psychology, copywriting, direct response, neuroscience, behavioral economics, all these different things. I was just fascinated. I couldn't get enough, basically, just consuming all this different stuff. All of it interrelated. And then it's kind of like there was just this crossroads moment where, like, we were writing about paid ads at the time, but our paid ads articles were doing better than some of the biggest content marketing companies in the world. Like, one of our articles, I think, is in the top 10 of all time on inbound.org. I think it's number 4 or number 6. And the person behind us is worth like $400 million kind of thing. Like companies like that. And it was just 2 of us just writing at home and just promoting this content and stuff. And so we have the one website which teaches people kind of like retargeting and paid ads to a point. And then the other one is AmpMyContent, where we teach people how to create content. So one kind of drives traffic, helps you to get actual results with your content. And then the other one is kind of how to improve those conversions from that traffic you're getting. So they kind of fit together. But it's been a crazy, crazy ride, if I'm honest.
Wow, it sounds like quite a journey.
It's been intense, yeah.
And like that, I mean, that strategy there, the t-shirt strategy to get into all these surfing shops, I mean, that's so creative. Did that just come from...
It only cost like $15. I have no idea where it came from. But we just seem to... I used to work in retail the whole time when I was like a kid and things, like pay for university. And when we first moved here as well, because, you know, you only have like a basic skills visa. You can only do certain jobs and things. So I think it was from that. And I became quite empathetic as well, kind of working in retail, trying to understand the customer. And I think that paid off. Like, it set us off on a really good foothold, understanding what people want instead of coming from our point of view, coming from their point of view. And it's much easier to sell to people when you come to it with them in mind first.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That definitely makes a lot of sense. And that's that's super creative. I mean, maybe there's some clothing brands or some founders of clothing brands that are listening to this who are like, yeah, I'm going to try that now. I found the secret sauce.
It makes sense, right? If you think about it from the distributor, from the store person point of view, the shopkeeper, it makes total sense, because they don't want to stock you because they don't know if there's any demand for you. Whereas if you create that demand and get people going in there asking, it's not an issue. They're going to want to stock you because you've already got that demand in place. Instead of you going there and trying to say how it will help you, you're going there and showing how it helps them instead. And that's all sales is, really. It's just positioning it from the point of view of the person and their benefit rather than yours.
Yeah, it makes so much more sense than you kind of going in with a printed copy of the t-shirt and going, look how great this is, everyone's going to buy this, like, why don't you stock me? And then you're always in that kind of position of not begging, but you are trying to convince them, right, to take on your product versus, as you said, like people going in and demanding the product and then them reaching out to you. And it's super powerful. And then so you went on and you learned like about SEO and content writing, direct response stuff, neuroscience, the psychology of conversion, and all that like really interesting stuff to you. Where did you learn that? Was that just like from books? Was there any specific courses you took?
So we did take some courses. I did one from Glenn Alsop, who runs Viperchill, who's is from Newcastle originally, but I don't know if you know Glenn. He's like crazy story. When he was about 14, 15, he was massive in the SEO world. And I think he got flown out to South Africa to basically do SEO for Land Rover Africa at such a young age, just because he was just huge. He was like a genius in the industry at that point, kind of thing. So he did a course on SEO and link building and a few shady practices in link building and stuff that worked.
Yeah.
And, so I took that, I learned that and applied some of it to our business, and that went well. And the t-shirts are selling, and kind of like the only time of the day I had to do anything was when I was shipping stuff out in the morning to the post office, which eventually got longer and longer. We were there for longer each day. But other than that, yeah, because I was just living in a surf town, and so I would read a lot of books. Trying to think what courses and stuff I took on it. If anything, I kept reading more and more and more and trying to go back to like old school fundamentals, trying to, you know what first principle thinking is from like science?
Yeah, I guess so. Kind of looking at the fundamentals and then, yeah.
Yeah, like the reason behind the things. Because a lot of people will teach you a method or a hack or something like that, but I wanted to understand why it actually worked and go deeper into the actual thing. And so, yeah, just fascinated reading all these different books. I think we've got like 5 bookshelves upstairs that are just covered in all these different nerdy books that you wouldn't even think of. Our Kindle is huge. I have to delete stuff off my phone, like photos and things all the time, just because we can't fit anything on there because of all the Kindle books. So I think Amazon is like a fan of us anyway. In terms of like copywriting courses and things, didn't really do anything on that. It was just the SEO basically that we learned, and we did a couple of courses. We also did backlinkos.
Okay.
So we basically took all this different training and things and tested what worked and what didn't, and figured out like the principles, and then improved on it and created systems and stuff for ourselves, and just went from there. But then we tried to connect the dots between different things. So like knowing how to write a sales page is great, but if you can't get people to that sales page, doesn't make a difference. And if you can't convert on the sales page, and if you can't increase the average sale, and so like learning all these different elements of how they tie together, which is why we have that one blog, which is like how to make more sales from your traffic, and the other one is how to get more traffic. So they tie in without having one blog that's kind of saturated with too many different topics. That's a big thing that people don't realize is if you want to be an authority in a space, you kind of have to plant your flag and just talk about one thing, or talk about one topic, at least for a couple, like 8, 9, 10 pieces of content. Otherwise, people don't know how to identify you. And you don't want to be a jack of all trades, which is why, yes, we know all these different elements, but they're all tied to promoting content. That's where they all come from. I can do Facebook ads really well for promoting content, but I couldn't tell you how to set up like an e-commerce advert or anything like that, They're all tied around that one niche topic. And I apologize if I've gone off topic there. I'm like 2 lemsips deep right now.
No, that's great. That's great. Let's keep that lemsip action going. I'm liking this right now. That's cool. That ties in, I guess, to the next question, which is, I've seen that you get if you make $22 for every $1 spent on ads, which is through Facebook, yes. I assume. So why don't you talk a little bit about your strategy? Because I'm pretty good at using Facebook myself for e-commerce. So I'm like the complete opposite to you. So why don't you talk a little bit more about the that using Facebook to promote a piece of content and how that ties into your businesses? So
the beauty of, you have to promote content, basically. It just makes no sense not to. And we can promote it and we can build links to it and things, but that takes time. And also there's an inherent error there where the only people who would ever find it are people who are searching for that topic. Whereas with Facebook, we can actually go out to people who might not even be thinking of that topic, or not even searching for it right now, who are really, really cold leads, and get that content in front of them and get them into kind of like into our sales cycle, or at least into our kind of sphere of influence where they know who we are and what we do. Because of a couple of things to do with Facebook right now, how they want to improve user experience, and people don't want to be seeing ads all the time. And, as it evolves, it means that pushing people to content is such a huge benefit because the ads are cheap, there's less resistance. The more people that click on it and convert and enjoy, the ads go down even more and things like this. There's even, as SEO evolves in the future as well, I think search results are going to be tweaked based on sites that people have already visited before. They already are now, but they're going to really go deep on it. So if you're not promoting content to people, it's quite difficult sometimes to get in front of people. But it's real basic. All we're doing is an advert. It's quite a long form ad because we are targeting people who are very cold. They don't really know the topic. Educating them in the advert to be ready for the piece of content. They click across, they read the content. Our conversion rates are really high because of the methods that we use to subscriber. And because we know what a subscriber how much we can afford to pay per subscriber, we know that our ads are profitable or not. But that's all it is really, is an advert to a piece of content to a lead conversion. And eventually we make sales.
So just like breaking that down into the minutiae of, say, the Facebook ad, how do you manage, say, your targeting then? How do you kind of target? Do you target off like similar audiences, or? I'm sure there are many. I'm sure you've got so many different types of ads. It's such a general question, but I'm just curious.
We actually don't run that many because the ones that we've got do really well. So this is the irony. Okay, so we wrote this article about how for every $1 we spend, we get $22 back in return. We run an advert to that article, and it converts even better. Like it converts at, I think, 86% opt-in rate, like that one article. Yeah, which is insane. 2% is the average rate. How we normally set them up is we run through a sequence of focus group testing. How people consume an advert, especially like a newsfeed ad, is they see the image, kind of gets their attention. They read the headline below it. Then if the subheads are working right, then they'll read that. And only after that do they go to the top of and read the content above, which is like 90% of the text. So when we're creating an advert, we need to improve the elements that are the most important first things. Because if the image isn't getting anyone's attention, it doesn't matter how good your ad copy is because they're not reading it. So the image has to get attention, then the headline has to pull them in, then the copy above. So we test them out in different sequences, and the ad improves over time with each new test that we do. We also run to like a really tight focus group of the ideal person we're trying to target. The idea being, we are trying to use like old school Mad Men focus groups. We are sitting down with the ideal audience and we're testing out the best image that they respond to, the best copy, best everything, so it gets the most clicks. Once we've done that, we know this ad performs really well with this particular group. We expand the audience, and then we let Facebook do its thing. So basically, as Facebook starts to show that to more and more people, because we expanded the audience, maybe 2 million people, we'll only have like one interest. Maybe it's content marketers in America, something like that, just because it ties into this article that we've written. We will let the algorithm, immediately because we've expanded, the price drops because it's supply and demand, right? The more niche we're trying to be with our targeting, the more Facebook will charge us. The thing is, the algorithm learns who interacts with your advert and starts showing it to more people who are like them. And when it does that, the advert gets more targeted, but without costing you any more. And because we know the ad already works with like a certain subset of your audience, guess what? They're the kind of people who are going to start responding. And so they start responding. Facebook learns who they are. Facebook narrows down, but it keeps our costs low. In fact, usually what happens is as more conversions come in, the cost goes down even more and more and more. So right now we're getting leads for like 50 cents New Zealand, which is like 33 cents US.
I love that.
So that's partly due to the targeting, but it's also because of how good the conversion is on the piece of content that it's going to. You know, those things are directly tied together. So, but yeah, that's how we test it. Really, just take again first principles, going back to like old school. Because if we use the algorithm right away at the start, and we just tested all these different variations, and Facebook said this one particular ad gets the most clicks, it might be getting clicks, but it might be getting clicks from the wrong people. It just happens that all these different variations happen to get clicks from people who would never become a customer. Does that make sense? And so we don't want to train the algorithm to start sending us people who are the wrong people. So at first we kind of we teach it who we want, the ad, and then we like go from there. Yeah.
Okay, that's really, really interesting. How do you, so these focus groups, how do you find the people? Is it like physical, or is it
just narrow targeting? Okay. Basically? It really bases like, so if I have an article on a certain topic, I'm like, okay, well, it's content marketing plus promotion plus paid ads plus, so I might find like intersects of groups of people, and they have to like this and this and this and this, and the group might only be 1,000 to 10,000 people. So it costs a lot more to show it to those people, but I know that they are kind of the best audience who I'm trying to reach right now. And so by doing that, I'm learning which particular variation of the ad is getting the best clicks from those people.
Okay, that's genius. I love that. That's real genius. And then you said that you know, after they go through the picture and the headline, sub-headline, then they jump to the content above, and you said you have some longer form content typically. How do you structure that?
Yeah, so like sometimes almost all content we create is based around specific templates. The way we consume information, the way our brains work and things is really peculiar. And so we have to hit like certain plot beats at certain times for people to continue reading, to take action, to build desire and stuff like that. So everything we write, an email, an advert, a piece of content, a blog post, it's all based around certain templates designed to evoke a certain reaction from someone. And so usually it's just basic, you know, for like a long form advert, it's kind of like the before after bridge. This is where your life is now. This is where you want to be. Here's how you get there. And then now that they're paying attention, you start showing how easy it is, because a lot of people will be like, well, how much effort is it? We're constantly trying to get them to keep paying attention, because everyone's constantly just wanting to leave, you know? Everything's fighting for their interest and stuff. So even if you have something amazing that you want to give away for free, you still have to sell it. And like, because people are just selfish and lazy and things, it's just how we are. So we're just going through these different stages of helping them see it's for them, building up their interest, seeing it can work for them, seeing that we're like you and that we've had similar experiences, removing objections in advance, all moving them to the point where they're going to click and get that action. And then our content follows similar patterns and pathways. I really nerd out on this stuff.
No, that's awesome. I'm loving this. I'm loving this deep dive from first principles, because I'm like that too. I love understanding like the neurological and psychological like triggers and what makes people take action, and how I can use that, and hopefully how the audience can use that as well. I think that's really, really useful. So instead of like, as you said, they use like a hack or a technique, they're really thinking about, okay, stripping that back and building something from the ground up, where it's like these psychological triggers are embedded in their content. So no, this is like gold. I love this stuff. So okay, obviously your content, like the opt-in rates that you were saying, is like insane, right? So how do you like create good content? Like how do you the content that someone is going to be promoting? Let's say someone's like, okay, I'm gonna write one article because I haven't got any articles to write. Like what advice would you give to them? Do you do any like specific structuring of like landing pages? Kind of what's your thought process? And yeah, break that down for me.
With all this stuff, it is easy to like forget things. It's why we have all these systems in place, because otherwise, you know, like you forget all this different stuff. Basically, we always say that there has to be a singular goal for anything you create, because this is the big difference between marketers and direct response marketers. We have a specific call to action that we can track and measure. Because if we can't track and measure, then we don't know how effective it is. And if we don't give people a call to action, then what was the point of even getting them there? That doesn't mean it's a sale. It could be something else. We might be trying to change a relationship and build on it. We might be trying to get their subscriber and stuff. So every article we start off and we ask, what is the goal for this? And then we say, who is it for? So who is it for? Where are they now? Where do we want them to be? What kind of transformation needs to happen in this post? A lot of it comes down to research. Like any kind of copywriting, it's fully understanding the audience, because it's all very well you knowing you have this product or you have this blog post and these are the things they need to know about it. But where is that person? If they don't even understand the basic principles, then you need to go to that point as well. And not only that, you have to use the language that they use, because you need to be able to connect with them. So we do a lot of research up front. Because we do that, it makes the advert really easy to write, because we already know who that audience is, right? Because we've done all this research. And then it's just structuring it again, and they follow like certain patterns. It's getting the attention, showing that it's for them, showing that we've been in the same situation so that we can take them from where they are now and where they want to be. Anything really, any piece of content is a transformation. Even if it's an article about like buying surfboards for the summer, how to choose your new longboard kind of thing like that. It's all about a change in state from where they are now to where they want to be. So it's not about like this board's this price and this board's this price. It's like, hey, if you, this is great for people who are doing this, who want to progress to this, whose beach breaks are like this, like your situation, and learning all those different things that you can put together to connect with that person. It's the difference between like a really bad story writer and like a TV producer kind of writer. But that's all it is, really. It's just, it's almost templated. All of it's just the structure. As long as we hit those certain beats and then we're hitting like certain psychological things, not only do they consume it, but they take action on it, they convert on it, they share it. We figured this all out basically just by looking at what people have done before us. Malcolm Gladwell's got a really good book called Contagious, about why things go viral. And then so that's content that gets shared, which does really well. But shared content isn't always the end goal. We also need content that gets conversions, which is why we learn a lot about sales psychology and direct response. And then also we want to get backlinks and traffic. So we look at all the content that gets links. And if you look at all these different things, there's an overlap. It's content that builds trust, content that has value, content that builds authority and reciprocity. And then it's really easy to bake it all in once you know those things.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And there's so much, you make so many good points there. So those points, you said that each piece of content needs to kind of hit these certain beats and hit these certain points. And you mentioned building trust, building authority, reciprocity. Was there any more there? Just to kind of recap there.
There is, and I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, so I'm going to bring them up. We actually have an article on it called, it's a AmpMyContent, creating killer content. And so it goes in there and it actually shows you how to take an old blog post and turn it into what we call a killer post by meeting those elements. And we actually took a post and we took like a 500-word article and turned it into like a 3,000-word article that converts higher and things like this. So where is my list? Okay, so content that builds trust and authority, content that is useful and has value, content that tells an empathetic story and connects emotionally, content that gives proof and context, that builds reciprocity, teases curiosity, builds controversy, holds commitment to self-identity, and holds in the memory. Now, all of those things, a couple of them kind of overlap. So let's say that you write a how-to guide. It's usually that will build trust, and it will show that you're an authority. It'll also give you proof, It has reciprocity, which is basically wanting to pay back for value given already. So if you've read a really good guide, so all of those things straight away are connected. Now, if you have an empathetic story behind it, and when you tease curiosity for something coming up, and maybe you have a controversial approach, like maybe you tell people that writing less and promoting more is more effective, those things stick to the memory. And it also connects with like people and how they identify. They don't want to be someone who just writes all the time anymore. They want to be someone who actually gets effective content. So all of that, it just ties together really. So it makes it quite easy. It sounds overwhelming. It sounds complex. It really isn't if you break it down.
Dude, that's probably one of the most potent formulas in terms of like creating, killer content that I've heard. Like you just summarize so many articles, videos, and courses I've taken there in basically one sentence. So that is like really powerful. This is really, really powerful. So I really appreciate you sharing that. So the audience, let's say someone creates this content that has those certain triggers. How then would it drive people to take action, like put their email in on a form or buy a course? How would you structure that from that piece of content?
The reason we get such high conversions is we remove distractions and we give them one action to take. So if you notice, my content doesn't have any sidebars, doesn't have any pop-ups, it doesn't have any exit intents or anything like that, because the goal of the content is designed to convert them. And if straight away I have a pop-up trying to get them to do something else, they're not going to be interested, they're going to be frustrated. If I have sidebars asking them to go elsewhere, then it's taking their attention away and things like this. So we give them one action to take. So the content is basically like a sales page, it's take the action or don't take the action. Then we call these a hyper-specific next step offer. So they're designed to be the next possible action that someone would want to take after reading that post. And they're almost designed like almost like a DVD extra or a bonus feature or something. So for example, we have another article which tells people how to create these HSO offers. And then the article itself is everything you need, but it's like 5,000 words because it shows you how to do all this stuff. If you want, we've got 4 videos, which are like 3 minutes total, where you can literally see what buttons to press, how to set it up, and just go through video 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 straight away. There's no pitch or anything. If you want it, just enter your email and you can get it. So it's like the next logical thing that they would want at that time. And so because of that, it's unique to that post. It's specific to that post. It's the next thing they want to do. And they convert like crazy. Like, it's insane. Our lowest opt-in rate right now is, I think, 56%.
You guys are changing the game. Like this is crazy. Because even when I was on your site, and there are so many different types of websites, and there's a million different types. But when I went on your website, I did kind of, now that you mentioned that you removed all distractions, that's what I was feeling on your website. That's what I could feel that, because typically, our brain is so good at blocking ads these days and so good at blocking out things that we consider irrelevant. But when I'm on your website, it's impossible to do that. So I'm kind of looking at all the images, I'm taking everything in. So
it's selling you on what it's taking you from point A to point B to point C, and it's getting you on this journey to be the person who's most recipient to become a subscriber, without trying to take you in all these different directions, because we're constantly fighting for like mental energy. Like a lot of the time people scan posts and things before they ever read them. We're constantly fighting to try and get people to do the thing. It's so hard. And so when we put all these extra barriers in place, every time just the conversion is dropping and it's dropping and it's dropping. And it kind of blows my mind when people, they can't understand why they're not getting sales and conversion. It's like, well, because you're doing this and you're distracting them here and you're distracting them there, and it's bad user experience and the page load's really bad and things like that. But yeah, I apologize. I think this lemsip has really kicked in the the stay awake chemical that it's got in it.
No, that's great. Like this Lemsip, it's doing wonders for this podcast. I'm sure like the audience are going to be like, yeah, like taking so much from this. So yeah, perfect. I mean, I love talking about this stuff because I'm like geeking out myself and thinking about my businesses, and I just love this stuff. It's like the psychological stuff, the stuff that triggers people to take action. I find it really interesting. What would you say, before we move on to kind of maybe a little bit more about you, the entrepreneur behind the business and businesses that you run, what would you say are the biggest issues you see with, with websites that are trying to do content marketing? Like, are there any like big problems or issues that you see? You're like, okay, that's the number one thing. This is the number one problem that I help people solve, or that you see people making and that you feel like they should correct. I know, again, that's really broad, but
it's hard, right? Because people are in different situations. Usually more than anything else, it's they're not promoting it enough, so it can't get the impact. Like we did a case study with one of our readers, and he's got a big Facebook group, and every time he writes a post, it's like a phishing group. Every time he writes a post, he makes about $5,000 basically to this group. But the thing is, he doesn't get any traffic to that article after that. And it's crazy because some of the keywords are like 30,000 searches a month and the competition is nothing. And the amount of traffic that trickles in and the amount of sales, it would take him 22 months to break even off the initial like cost it would take to write the article. Like just off minimum wage writing the post kind of thing. If he didn't have that Facebook group to make the money back immediately, he wouldn't be making anything from his blog. So, but the thing is, if he promoted it just for a little bit, he would get almost 10 times the amount of traffic he's already getting now. So not promoting enough. And I think kind of we get stuck in this hamster wheel where we think we have to do all these different things. And so some people, when they're creating content, they're just like, I've got 5 minutes. What should I do? I've not written a blog post in ages. And they write like 10 things that Batman taught me about how to do SEO or something like that, And there's no idea behind it. They haven't asked what's the goal and who it's for. There isn't. Instead, it's ticking the box of, I felt bad because I haven't created content. They're just trying to tick that thing off. And I can understand, like, trust me, I understand. I've been in the same situations. And they're stuck because I've been told they have to create all this content, and they feel bad because they're not creating content all the time, and it's not getting results, and it's not getting traffic. So they're bouncing around to all these different things, and it's freaking them out. Almost always spend more time producing a single article, spend more time promoting it. This one article we've been promoting for 6 months now. And yet, it's going to, at one point, I know it'll be worth something like $48,000 a year to the business, just this one article alone. In fact, it's already past that, I think, for this one post. It'll hit 200K per year, basically, but based off of current conversion rates and current traffic and potential traffic and things. That's how much money it will make, And so it makes no sense to write another post before that article is at that point where it can do that thing. And so just promoting more and more and more, and it's knowing those numbers and what you can do and how it affects your business, having content that takes an action, taking the time to write something that can actually make a difference, not just something to have for the sake of it, taking the time to promote it, actually get it out there. It's scary, I know, to go out and put your stuff you've created out there, because people, the most vocal people, are trolls, and we get them on our adverts and stuff all the time. I think it's like 10 to 1, but that means for every one troll you get, there's 10 people who love what you have. So just turn it around and just be like, oh, okay, well, that means I'm helping these people. That's all it is, really. It's just spending more time on the content, try and meet those elements so it actually helps people. Promote it. Just those two things will make a huge difference. And if you have a call to action, the third thing, it's going to be crazy. Because AmpMyContent right now is still only small traffic because we only launched it in September. So one of the latest articles still only gets, 40 visitors a day, but it converts 35 of them into leads, So that's worth thousands of dollars on its own. You don't have to have the number one position and all the traffic if the content actually does its job and converts, You don't have only so many places, only so many websites can be number one in Google rankings. But if Google dies tomorrow and you send traffic to it, will it still convert for you? Those are the kind of things you got to be thinking about when you're creating your content.
I'm glad you went through that, because I know that we kind of touched on those points throughout this conversation, but that's really, really made it clear. And it's so simple. This idea is so simple, but it's so powerful. And I know the pressures of feeling like I need to create a lot of content. Like, when's the next piece of content I need to create? Because that's kind of the mindset that a lot of content marketing websites put you in. It's more about a quantity rather than quality.
And I can understand, they're getting paid to write posts and things, but then they're usually news publishers. Their business model is totally different. They get paid every time someone comes and looks at an advert. And so it's more productive and efficient for them to get the same person to come back 10 times than it is to get different people coming back for the same one article. And so when you copy that, you're copying a different business model. And so it doesn't work. You're not getting paid for every time someone returns to the site. Like I say this all the time, but traffic is just a benefit. I would still create content just because it talks to more people than I ever could. It converts more people than I ever could. It can do it when I'm not awake. Like I was real sick last week and we still made sales because of traffic coming in and conversions and things like that. If you start to think of your content like that instead, you'll find it much easier to actually create. I worked in retail a long time, so it's really easy to kind of keep thinking of examples that are like that. But imagine you had a retail store, and rather than having one good salesperson who can make sales to most people, you just fill it with 50 salespeople who are awful and just offend them and don't pay attention. I think that's what we're doing. We're just churning out this volume of content, not caring if it converts or not, or if it makes sense, or 10 things Batman taught me about this. No, I just want to try on these jeans. 10 things Batman taught me about. It's like, you're crazy, right?
I know I said last question on the content, but I had one more actually that I just thought of, and I was like, I want to ask this. Is there any like tools that you use every day? I know that you use lead pages, but is there anything that's like, using these three things in combination is like the core of our business or the core of what we do? We couldn't live without it.
So we have lead pages to capture leads just because they're so good. And if you think about it, if your entire business model is built around capture a lead, then sell the lead. You don't want it to break. And I've tried other things before and they've broken. So I pay more for lead pages just so that it doesn't break. I use ActiveCampaign for email delivery. So those things are in place all the time. We use Ahrefs, which is like an SEO tool when we're doing link building. So basically looking for opportunities like these resource links that I was looking for today. I was looking at major sites who are competitors and trying to find links from resource pages to their content. And Ahrefs will allow me to do that. I plug it in, I filter the results, I find these different places, and now I've got a list of people I could potentially pitch. When it comes to pitching people on content, we use a tool called Mailshake. It will connect to like your Gmail and things like this. It's just a super basic CRM where I might email someone to say, hey, I've got this article. Do you want to read this article? Blah, blah, blah. Like super basic outreach. It'll tell me if I've already emailed that person before. If I email them and don't follow up, it'll do an automatic follow-up for me a few days later. It'll save all previous interactions. It's got a spam filter, so it'll say, hang on a minute, this email says this, this, and this, which traditionally it might get into a spam filter. It's even got a filter. It's not AI, but it's kind of like how they best recommend you write headlines and things. So if you don't kind of meet that, it'll say you could probably improve it by doing this and this. So that's a really cheap tool. It's like 40, I think it's like 40 New Zealand a month. So it's only like 20 US, something like that. Those are the 4 things other than Facebook ads that we use all the time. Yeah, just 5 tools basically, really.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard of some of those before. I use some of them. Mailshake I haven't. That seems really interesting.
By Sujan Patel, who owns like 5 different SaaS companies. I want to say he's Neil Patel's cousin. as well. And so like, the guy's got like 3 super bikes and a Porsche and 5 software companies and all this other stuff. And he's just an absolute boss content marketer, but he follows a similar pattern. So when he bought Mailshake, he bought the company. It was already up and running. They didn't have enough money to do a huge amount of marketing. So they did the exact same thing. They wrote a post, a really important post, and they spent 6 months promoting it. And they did nothing else. And within 6 months, their traffic and sales were higher than they'd ever been. And so that's all they really do is they'll create like one good article, spend ages promoting it, write another one, because you don't need to be speaking to people all the time. Like, yes, you need so many interactions with someone to make a customer, but let's say that's 6 interactions and I have 6 posts that do that. Why do I need to send them anything else new? If they're already a customer and I've got nothing else new to sell them on, why do I need to write another article to entertain them? I don't. We don't have to be constantly like social media interacting with these people. That is the beauty of content. You can create those things, and then over time, someone might read it 2 years from now or 5 years from now, and it still sells them. So.
I really hope that the people listening are like, this is sinking in, and people are going, okay, yes, all right, focus on promoting content and like really great content versus being just churning more and more out. That, as you said, like the 50 employees in the store just like parroting and just not really saying anything at all. So cool. Thank you.
No worries. As an example, I think it's like Brian Dean gets the same amount of traffic. One guy who's just built up enough backlinks and enough promotion. I think he had 54 articles in 4 years. Those same articles that he wrote, he'd write like one a month and then promote it for like a month or 2 months. He did that and he gets the same traffic, I think, as HubSpot, which has got like 22 writers and writes something like 100 articles a month.
Yeah.
So like, which business model would you rather be in?
Yeah. Right. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. But okay, let's take a little sidestep now, if possible. And I know, there's so much value I've got from this, and we're nearly an hour through, and I'm like, you're just like delivering so much value, and I'm really enjoying this conversation. But I know that other people might want to hear about the human element of you, right? So because I know that, from all the other entrepreneurs we've interviewed, I know it's not easy building a business, and I know there's challenges. What's been kind of your mindset in terms of building your businesses and building the success that you've reached today when you've hit adversity? Because it sounds like the origins of your businesses and Freya's businesses have come from this point of necessity where you needed to get a visa and you're like, okay, I'm going to make this happen. What's kind of your mindset when you've dealt with adversity? And what kind of challenges have you gone through? Because you sound like a very systematized, structured guy. So I'd love to hear more about that.
I'd love to say that I hadn't gone through any, or not that I hadn't gone through any, but that I managed them all eloquently. But I didn't. A lot of them happen all the time. And what's funny is sometimes it's not always failure. Sometimes it's success as well. That's an issue. So full disclosure, I just bought Simon Sinek. It was my birthday this week.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. And I was like, my mom still sends me money, so I was like, what shall I do? So I went and bought a book, and it was Simon Sinek, Start With Why. And the business isn't in a bad place. In fact, the business is in the best place it's ever been. But you still kind of like, you can hit those things where I'm just like, oh, well, what do you do now? Like, we have goals and we have targets and things, but sometimes when you're just goal focused all the time, you hit them and then you kind of like, you lose all motivation to do anything else. Because it's like, well, what do I do now? Especially if you're making enough money to kind of do nothing, like, and play games all day, like you can.
Right.
But it's like, it's so easy to just kind of not do anything. So it comes from success as well. It's like a big thing for me that's been helpful is journaling, like gratitude in the morning and in the evening, and setting out these goals and loving the systems. Because, so like from a link building perspective, I might email 100 people today. Even if 30 of them gave me links, they wouldn't come up in Google for like 60 days sometimes. So like work I did today, I won't see results on from like 2 months, and I won't see sales from that for like another 2 months after that. So I have to like learn to love the systems, which has been a huge thing for me. Um, I find stoicism really helps. Ryan Holiday talks about that a lot. He wrote a book called Ego is the Enemy and the Obstacle is the Way. For stoicism, for people who don't know, it's like a system of philosophy where it tries to remove emotion from the moment and try and think of things clearly and focused, not so that you are just like apathetic, but try and understand things. You're in an argument. Why are you in an argument? Why is that person saying that thing? How does it really affect you? You choose how you want to be emotionally and things like that. And like I said, you're kind of getting the Instagram version of me because it's on a podcast, it's on an interview, right? Yeah. Stuff happens, things go bad, At one point, I wrote one blog post that went viral, and I had $3 million in client requests in 2 weeks. And we took on more clients that we can handle. I put on like 25, 30 kgs. It was like, it was the worst idea I've ever had, so like victims of success sometimes as well, and trying to figure those things out. We went from an agency to a product at one point just because it's not that it wouldn't scale, but it wasn't every time. I'm not great at managing large groups of people. And so it's like, okay, to get another client, I need to get 4 clients because you need one more person to hire to do this, blah, 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 blah. So when we moved from one thing to another, we didn't take on sales for a while. So a lot of it is it is systems. It's learning to enjoy the moment. It's checking in even when there's no motivation to check in. In fact, not even using it. Praise and criticism, they're both kind of useless. You shouldn't be doing work based off of either of them. One shouldn't be stopping you and one shouldn't be starting you. Just learning these different things. And again, the only reason I know this stuff is because I made all these mistakes, but they're the biggest things for me. So I have those 2 books right next to my computer, just off the side of my desk. I try not to have anything on my desk apart from what I'm using right there and then. I don't like lots of tabs and stuff. But I have them just to the side, just because if there is a difficult situation, I have them ready and I can just kind of flick through. The daily journal definitely helps because you are keeping track of what you're doing each day. But it's just one more brick stacked. It's one more inch in the right direction each time. Because when we don't track what we're doing, so easy to lose focus. There was this study by Max Planck University in Germany, and they put GPS trackers on people and put them out in places that didn't have unique locations. So they would put them in a jungle, or they put them in a desert. So there's no unique feature that they can use as an anchor point for directions. And what would happen after about 25 minutes, they'd start to turn around and walk in circles. And after about 6 hours, they're like 40 meters from where they started. And if they didn't go in and rescue these people, they would have died. If we don't have anchor points to keep looking at and keep moving towards and tracking and course correcting all the time, we second guess and we course correct in the wrong direction, and we walk in loops and things like that. So having a journal has been the biggest thing for me. Just like a basic paper journal, I just fill it out with pen and paper each day, basically, just tracking those things. I'll send you a screenshot of it at some point.
Oh, that'll be great. Yeah, I'll put that in the show notes.
I think it is like an official journal by someone, but I just took the model and then just put it in an A4 notepad now all the time.
Perfect.
Or an A5. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, yeah, that sounds tremendous. Thank you very much for that advice. And I think it also helps, people will look at you and go, wow, like $3 million, in clients or requests for clients. Like, I want to get there. But then it's also really nice to hear that human element, behind, I put on 20 kilos, right? Because I was so stressed out from all the client work.
I've got PTSD from it. So like this week, no joke, I got contacted by a web platform that's a competitor of WordPress. So companies worth billions to run their paid ads. And it would be worth a fortune. I probably could buy a house off this one client alone. But it's one of those things as well. It's learning to say no. it's not where we want to be anymore. It's not where we're aligned. And so it is good to get those things, and if they are the things that you're working towards, and that's brilliant. But it's, you're not, unless you're very, very, very smart, and you can learn from other people's mistakes before you make them. You're going to make mistakes, but it's okay, because that's how we learn, and that is how we move forward. It's just so much more important that we get up and carry on, more than anything else.
And just like in that example that you said, like of that big potential client, it's about what you want in life. It's not about going, you know what, if I get this client, then I can have like a huge house, and I can have like the 5 sports cars. But if you don't really want sports cars, and you're happy where you are, and you're earning money and going in the right direction, you got to think about what's important to you in your life.
Totally.
So yeah, completely agree.
People don't really ask those questions of themselves. And I think you kind of go through this evolution as an entrepreneur, especially once you've been in it for a little while. I think we're like at year 6 or something now. And, I was happy with a t-shirt company, and then I didn't have to work. So it totally changed your life. And then you start asking different things and moving into different things and going from there, and so on and so on and so on. But it's so important to stop and take a second and ask those questions, like, what is it that you want? Because you can get stuck in sometimes. Like, I don't even have a car. I ride a bike to work. I live by the beach. It's only a 6-kilometer bike ride on a flat road. So I don't need it. It just doesn't appeal to me at all. Not interested. Could go buy one tomorrow if I wanted to, but it's because once you start to ask those things as well, you get so much happier, because you're like, well, I'm actually doing the things that I want, and I am really happy doing this, and enjoying these things. It's good, man. I like that you have that angle on this podcast as well, because I think it is important.
Absolutely. I think money without happiness is completely pointless, and money without fulfillment, I mean, you can have all the money in the world and be deemed really successful from an external perspective, but then if you're not fulfilled from within yourself, then you're ultimately, it's meaningless. It's just a number in your bank account, and it's not going to bring you happiness, and it's going to might make you even despise that success that you have, because that's going to also mean that you work harder or do things that you don't want to be doing. So yeah, I really implore people to think about that question of like, what is it that you want from your life for you, without looking at other people and wanting it just because it's going to give you external validation. What do you want that comes from you, your internally kind of locus goals and desires? I think that's really important to understand. Yeah, thank you so much, Daniel. I mean, this was a brilliant podcast, and I hope everyone has taken tremendous value from it. I know I have. I've learned a lot from listening to you, even though the conversation has only been an hour. What does the future hold, and where can people follow you, find out about you, join your courses? Yeah, where can people get the scoop?
So the only thing I'm working on right now is AmpMyContent.com. I'm scaling that up to 100,000 visitors a month over a couple of goals, different reasons, just so I can help more people, basically. Actually help more small businesses and stuff. I'm there. I'm on Twitter, but in fairness, it's just me posting cat photos and things like that. So if you're interested in content, it's all at AmpMyContent.com. Most of the guides and stuff are on there. If you're a subscriber, at some point we open up our training programs and stuff, so you'll get notified when that happens. Do it, don't, it's all good. I'm just glad that I could be here, and if I help one person, that's enough,
Yeah, well, you definitely helped me, so you've already checkmarked that goal. But yeah, thank you very much, Daniel. Be sure, everyone, to go to AmpMyContent.com, subscribe to the email list, and follow along. Like, I've read most of the site. I'm still going through some bits and pieces of it, and I've taken so much value from it. So I'm going to be watching intently and listening to your advice. So on a personal level, thank you very much.
You're very welcome, sir.
Cool. And until next time, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, please go over to iTunes, Google Play, or Spotify, subscribe to us. If you think we deserve a 5-star rating, then please leave us a rating. We also have exclusive show notes and bonus content over at whosgoingtostopme.com, so I highly recommend you check that out. For daily lessons and nuggets of advice, please head over to our Instagram @StopMePodcast. Until next time.